on your wedding day, then what more is there to do than yet another disastrous advertising post making zero sense?
The latest wave of headlines surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry has triggered another intense round of scrutiny online. But this time, the controversy didn't begin with a tabloid leak or a royal insider. It started with Meghan herself. A newly released collection of anniversary images, intended to celebrate her marriage and present a more intimate glimpse into their relationship, quickly spiraled into a public relations nightmare after viewers noticed one particular photograph that appeared far less romantic than intended. Instead of a warm behind-the-scenes memory from the royal wedding, critics became fixated on what looked like a tense interaction involving Harry, royal staff, and the children present during the ceremony. Within hours, social media users and royal commentators began dissecting every expression, every body movement, and every detail in the background, transforming what was likely meant to be sentimental content into yet another damaging online debate. The reaction exposed a growing problem for the Sussex brand. Every attempt to reclaim their narrative now seems to generate even more controversy than silence ever did.
Honestly, Dan, nobody knows, and I don't think Meghan knows
No, that's the
either.
problem.
She's literally trying to sell herself as the product, and frankly, it's not working. And I'm almost starting to feel kind of bad for her at this point. And I do stress the word almost.
Almost.
But you are correct. Sitting there, leaning back against a window and like touching herself, it was a scene I never needed to see.
What made this situation particularly striking was the fact that the backlash didn't come from a leaked document or an unauthorized photo. Meghan voluntarily released the material herself. For years, Harry and Meghan have publicly argued for privacy, criticized media intrusion, and condemned public fascination with their personal lives. Yet, increasingly, many observers believe the couple themselves are the primary source of the very exposure they claim to resent. The anniversary posts reignited that criticism because instead of appearing elegant or carefully curated, the release felt excessive to many viewers, especially as image after image focused almost entirely on Meghan herself. The online discussion rapidly shifted away from the anniversary and toward a much harsher question: why does every carefully planned Sussex project seem to unravel so quickly? The controversy surrounding the wedding image became even more intense because of long-standing reports about tensions between Harry, Meghan, and the rest of the royal family during the 2018 wedding preparations. For years, there have been persistent stories about disagreements involving bridesmaids' dresses, staff conflicts, and emotional disputes surrounding Princess Charlotte. The resurfaced image appeared to revive all of those rumors at once. Online commentators speculated that Harry looked visibly frustrated during the interaction, while others claimed the children appeared uncomfortable nearby. None of those interpretations have been officially confirmed, but in the world of royal coverage, perception often matters more than facts. The image instantly became symbolic of the broader narrative that has haunted the Sussexes ever since they stepped away from royal duties: a story of fractured relationships, endless tension, and public image management gone wrong. At the same time, another detail from the anniversary celebration quietly added fuel to the criticism. Many people noticed the complete silence from celebrities who once seemed inseparable from the couple. Back in 2018, the royal wedding was packed with some of the biggest names in entertainment, politics, sports, and media. Oprah Winfrey, Serena Williams, George Clooney, and countless others attended the ceremony, helping cement the image of Harry and Meghan as a modern celebrity power couple. But years later, when Meghan publicly celebrated the anniversary online, almost none of those famous figures acknowledged it publicly. No flood of congratulatory posts appeared, no high-profile tributes surfaced. For critics, the silence felt revealing. It fed a growing perception that the Sussexes have become increasingly isolated, not just from the royal family, but from many of the elite social circles they once moved through so effortlessly. That growing sense of isolation has become impossible to separate from the wider collapse of what was once envisioned as a billion-dollar post-royal empire. When Harry and Meghan left royal life and relocated to California, the expectation was clear. They would become global media entrepreneurs, influential activists, streaming stars, and luxury lifestyle icons all at once. The deals were enormous. Streaming contracts, publishing agreements, podcasts, speaking appearances, documentaries, and lifestyle branding opportunities all arrived almost immediately. For a brief period, it appeared the couple might successfully reinvent themselves as Hollywood royalty, but over time, cracks began appearing everywhere. Projects were delayed, partnerships quietly ended, staff turnover reportedly increased, and instead of building a stable, long-term identity, the Sussex brand began lurching unpredictably between activism, entertainment, celebrity gossip, personal confessions, and influencer-style content. Nothing illustrates that confusion more clearly than Meghan's recent attempts to relaunch herself as a lifestyle personality. Her new videos, carefully staged around cooking, aesthetics, home imagery, and soft-focus luxury visuals, were clearly designed to create a polished image of elegance and aspiration. But even these efforts quickly became controversial because viewers started focusing on the details rather than the message itself. One particular obsession emerged almost immediately: the kitchen featured in the videos. Online critics began pointing out that the space looked noticeably different from the luxurious image many expected from the Sussex household. Discussions exploded across social media, with some mocking the outdated decor and others questioning whether the footage was even filmed inside the couple's real home at all. What should have been harmless branding suddenly became another viral debate about authenticity, image management, and the growing disconnect between the Sussexes' carefully curated image and public perception. As the criticism intensified, the conversation surrounding Meghan Markle shifted from individual mistakes to a much larger question about whether the entire Sussex strategy has lost direction. Over the past few years, nearly every major public move made by Meghan and Prince Harry has seemed to contradict the one before it. One month, they position themselves as serious campaigners focused on mental health, misinformation, and global humanitarian issues. The next, they reappear in highly stylized social media content centered around candles, lifestyle branding, celebrity friendships, and curated family nostalgia. To supporters, that flexibility represents reinvention, but to critics, it increasingly looks like confusion. The audience no longer seems certain whether Harry and Meghan want to be viewed as global activists, entertainment moguls, influencers, or celebrities simply documenting their private lives for attention. That uncertainty has become especially visible in Meghan's latest promotional content. The videos themselves are filled with carefully crafted imagery designed to project warmth and luxury, but online viewers quickly noticed something unusual. Instead of showcasing a sleek, modern Montecito mansion that reflects the polished image Meghan often promotes, the background spaces appeared strangely dated. Commentators began openly questioning why someone attempting to build a high-end lifestyle empire would repeatedly avoid filming inside the actual home she shares with Harry. That discussion rapidly evolved into a much broader theory. Perhaps the Sussexes' financial and professional situation is far weaker than the public has been led to believe. The speculation intensified after multiple reports suggested the couple had significantly reduced staff operations surrounding their production ventures. Insiders in Hollywood have increasingly described the Sussex media operation as a brand that now functions more as a licensing label than a fully active production powerhouse. Early expectations were enormous. Following the couple's departure from royal duties, executives across the entertainment industry believed Harry and Meghan could dominate streaming platforms with documentaries, scripted series, podcasts, interviews, and prestige content. Instead, many of those projects either failed to materialize or generated only temporary attention before fading from public conversation. The result has been a growing perception that the Sussex brand relies heavily on announcements and publicity rather than long-term execution. Even Meghan's attempts to re-enter the lifestyle space have become tangled in criticism almost immediately. A simple anniversary video transformed into debates about authenticity, image control, celebrity isolation, and personal branding. Instead of viewers focusing on the emotional message she intended to deliver, audiences became fixated on analyzing kitchen cabinets, decor choices, missing celebrity endorsements, and awkward photographs from years earlier. That reaction revealed something important about the current public mood surrounding the Sussexes. People are no longer just consuming the content itself, they are actively searching for evidence of contradictions beneath it. Every detail is treated as a clue about what may be really happening behind the scenes. One of the most damaging elements for Meghan has been the growing perception that former allies are quietly distancing themselves. During the peak of Sussex popularity, celebrity support appeared endless. Major stars publicly defended the couple, media personalities praised them, and influential public figures eagerly aligned themselves with Harry and Meghan's post-royal image. But recently, that enthusiasm appears far less visible. Observers pointed out that during the anniversary celebrations, even celebrities Meghan publicly referenced or previously worked alongside remained silent. Names like Oprah Winfrey, Serena Williams, and Priyanka Chopra were repeatedly mentioned online as people once closely associated with Meghan who no longer publicly engage with Sussex milestones in the way they once did. Whether fair or unfair, that silence became part of the story itself. At the same time, comparisons with the rest of the royal family have only made the contrast sharper. While Meghan's online projects continue generating backlash and debate, Prince William has recently enjoyed a wave of positive coverage focused on his public appearances, football fandom, and increasingly relaxed public image. Videos of Williams celebrating with fans during Aston Villa matches spread rapidly online, with many viewers praising how natural and genuine he appeared. That difference in tone matters because royal popularity is often shaped less by official announcements and more by emotional perception. William currently projects stability, continuity, and familiarity, while Harry and Meghan increasingly appear surrounded by constant turbulence and reinvention. The irony is that Harry and Meghan originally left royal life partly to escape what they described as relentless pressure, public intrusion, and toxic media cycles. Yet, years later, they arguably generate more controversy now than they did inside the monarchy itself. Every interview, every podcast appearance, every documentary clip, every anniversary photo, and every promotional video becomes another battlefield online. Instead of controlling the narrative, they often seem trapped inside an endless cycle where every attempt at rebranding only produces fresh scrutiny. And as the public watches this unfold in real time, the central question surrounding the Sussexes no longer seems to be whether they can remain famous. That part is guaranteed. The real question now is whether they can ever rebuild a stable identity that people genuinely trust. The deeper problem facing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is that public skepticism is no longer limited to critics or royal commentators. Even people who once defended the couple are beginning to question whether there is any long-term strategy behind the constant reinventions. In the span of just a few years, the Sussexes have shifted from royal rebels exposing palace dysfunction to Hollywood producers, to podcast hosts, to political commentators, to lifestyle influencers, all while continuing to frame themselves as victims of public scrutiny. That constant repositioning has left many observers feeling exhausted rather than inspired. The more the brand changes, the harder it becomes for audiences to understand who Harry and Meghan actually want to be. One of the clearest examples came through Meghan's recent public appearances connected to international causes. Only days before the anniversary content sparked online backlash, Meghan had reportedly been presenting herself in a much more serious role, participating in conversations surrounding children's well-being, social media responsibility, and global public health discussions. The visual messaging surrounding those appearances projected authority and activism, but almost immediately afterward, the public narrative shifted again into highly curated influencer-style content focused on aesthetics, romance, celebrity nostalgia, and branding. To critics, the transition felt jarring. It reinforced the perception that the Sussexes' image changes direction depending on whichever opportunity currently attracts the most attention. At the same time, questions surrounding the couple's finances and business success have become increasingly difficult to ignore. When Harry and Meghan first arrived in California, many believed they would become one of the most powerful celebrity brands in the world. Their global recognition was unmatched, and companies rushed to associate themselves with the pair. Yet, years later, several of the most heavily promoted partnerships have quietly lost momentum. The massive excitement surrounding podcasting deals faded after only limited output. Streaming projects generated attention initially, but struggled to maintain long-term impact. Meanwhile, repeated reports of restructuring, downsizing, and staffing changes only intensified speculation that the glamorous California reinvention had not produced the financial empire many expected. This is why even something as ordinary as a kitchen became symbolic online. People weren't truly debating countertops or cabinet colors, they were debating what the room represented. For critics, the allegedly outdated surroundings contradicted the image of endless luxury and influence the Sussexes once projected. The conversation became less about decor and more about perceived decline. In elite communities like Montecito, image is everything, and homes often function as visible symbols of wealth, status, and power. That is why online commentary surrounding Meghan's videos quickly escalated into larger speculation about whether the couple had overextended themselves financially after leaving royal life. The pressure surrounding Harry himself has also become more visible recently. While Meghan continues attempting to reshape her public image, Harry increasingly appears caught between two incompatible worlds. On one side remains the royal family he publicly criticized in interviews, documentaries, and his memoir. On the other is the uncertain celebrity world he entered after leaving Britain. Reports and rumors about possible attempts to rebuild communication with King Charles III continue surfacing regularly, though the true state of those conversations remains unclear. What is obvious, however, is that Harry's relationship with the monarchy remains one of the most emotionally charged, unresolved stories in modern royal history. That tension became even more complicated as fresh attention returned to wider royal controversies involving figures like Prince Andrew. Newly discussed government documents and past decisions surrounding Andrew's public roles reignited uncomfortable debates about accountability inside the monarchy. For King Charles, those renewed headlines served as another reminder that royal scandals rarely disappear permanently. They simply fade before returning years later under new circumstances. But while the monarchy continues dealing with its own controversies, the contrast between the institution and the Sussexes has become increasingly pronounced. The royal family, despite constant criticism, still projects structure, hierarchy, and continuity. Harry and Meghan, by comparison, increasingly appear locked inside a cycle of improvisation. Meanwhile, Prince William has benefited enormously from staying relatively consistent. His public appearances continue focusing on familiar themes: football, charitable work, environmental initiatives, family life, and royal duty. That stability has helped strengthen his image as a future king prepared for responsibility. Videos showing William emotionally celebrating Aston Villa victories resonated online precisely because they felt authentic and uncomplicated. There was no rebranding campaign attached to the moment, no product launch, no carefully orchestrated lifestyle messaging, just visible excitement and human emotion. That simplicity now works strongly in William's favor because audiences increasingly distrust content that feels overly managed or performative. For Harry and Meghan, however, nearly every public appearance now arrives embraced inside a larger debate about motives, authenticity, and relevance. Even their anniversary celebration became overshadowed by questions about celebrity abandonment, public image decline, and whether the couple themselves are fueling the endless cycle of exposure they once claimed to despise. The result is a strange paradox. The Sussexes remain globally famous, endlessly discussed, and impossible to ignore, yet at the same time, many of the original promises surrounding their post-royal life still feel unresolved. Years after stepping away from royal life, the couple continues searching for a stable identity that can survive both public fascination and relentless scrutiny. By now, the situation surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry has evolved into something far bigger than a simple celebrity image problem. What makes their stories so unusual is that they continue operating in two completely different realities at the same time. In one reality, they remain globally recognized figures with enormous media reach, massive public visibility, and the ability to dominate headlines almost instantly. But in the other reality, every new attempt to rebuild momentum seems to expose fresh weaknesses inside the Sussex operation itself. That contradiction has become impossible to ignore. The couple still attracts extraordinary attention, yet increasingly that attention feels driven by confusion and controversy rather than admiration or anticipation. The anniversary rollout highlighted that contradiction perfectly. Meghan clearly intended the release to feel emotional, intimate, and personal, offering followers a nostalgic glimpse into key moments from her relationship with Harry. Instead, the internet treated the content almost like forensic evidence. Every image was examined for hidden meaning, every background detail became part of a larger conversation about status, money, celebrity friendships, and family tensions. Rather than strengthening the Sussex narrative, the release reopened nearly every criticism that has followed the couple since leaving royal life. The irony is that none of this came from palace leaks, hostile tabloids, or anonymous insiders. The controversy exploded entirely from material Meghan chose to share herself. What has especially damaged the couple's image is the growing perception that they are now trapped inside a permanent cycle of reaction rather than leadership. Instead of setting cultural conversations, they increasingly appear to be responding to declining relevance by constantly shifting direction. One moment, the focus is humanitarian advocacy. The next, it is entertainment. Then family storytelling. Then lifestyle branding. Then royal revelations. Then social media activism. Because the messaging changes so often, audiences struggle to identify any consistent mission beneath it all. Even supporters who once passionately defended Harry and Meghan now sometimes admit that the constant pivots have become difficult to follow. At the center of all this is Harry himself, whose public identity remains deeply conflicted. For decades, he existed within one of the world's most structured institutions, where every role, appearance, and responsibility was clearly defined. Leaving that environment gave him freedom, but it also removed the framework that once shaped his public purpose. Since moving to California, Harry has often appeared torn between two competing instincts. Part of him still wants distance from the monarchy and the media system he blames for much of his pain, but another part seems unable to fully detach from the royal identity that made him globally significant in the first place. That internal conflict has become increasingly visible as rumors continue surfacing about private conversations, possible reconciliations, and attempts to slowly rebuild fractured family relationships behind closed doors. Meanwhile, the royal family itself continues moving forward without them. King Charles III remains focused on stabilizing the monarchy during an already difficult reign, complicated by health concerns and ongoing family controversy. Prince William has steadily grown into a far more confident public figure, increasingly comfortable balancing royal duty with moments of visible personality and emotion. The contrast between William and Harry now feels sharper than ever. William projects continuity and predictability. Harry projects disruption and uncertainty. That difference matters enormously in royal life, where public confidence is often built not on excitement, but on stability.
For Meghan, the challenge may be even more complicated. She entered the royal family as a modern outsider, expected to help reshape the monarchy's global image. For a brief moment, it genuinely looked possible. Her arrival generated international fascination and enormous goodwill. But years later, much of that early optimism has been replaced by polarization. Supporters still view her as someone unfairly targeted by sections of the press and establishment. Critics, meanwhile, increasingly see her as overly focused on publicity, branding, and personal image management. The problem is that every new controversy reinforces whichever version people already believe. That makes it incredibly difficult for Meghan to reset the narrative because audiences now interpret almost every action through an already deeply emotional lens. The larger tragedy in all of this is that Harry and Meghan once possessed something extremely rare: worldwide sympathy combined with global curiosity. Very few public figures ever received that combination. People genuinely wanted to see them succeed after leaving royal life. They had the opportunity to redefine what a modern post-royal future could look like. But over time, the endless interviews, public grievances, contradictory messaging, and constant image reinventions gradually weakened that support. Instead of appearing liberated, the couple often appears exhausted by the very media ecosystem they continue feeding. And yet, despite all the backlash, fascination with the Sussexes remains incredibly strong. Every appearance still trends, every interview still sparks debate, every photograph still generates headlines across the world. That may ultimately be the strangest part of the entire story. Harry and Meghan have become two of the most scrutinized public figures on the planet precisely because people still cannot decide what they truly are: misunderstood victims, strategic celebrities, royal rebels, struggling entrepreneurs, or simply two people still trying to figure out who they became after walking away from the monarchy. Whatever the answer may be, one thing is certain: the story of the Sussexes is nowhere near finished.